welcome to Tarmac. I'm Dave.
And I'm Harry, and today we have the all-new MG3, which brings a refreshed design inside and out in heaps more tech.
That's right, it comes loaded with value and is also a hybrid too. Come, let's take a look at this. Let me get one thing straight from the start. The MG3 is a very, very important model for the MG brand. When it launched, it was a low-cost option, a very, economical hatchback that just thrust them onto the marketplace. Now they're back, and what they've done is they've, for this next generation, completely revamped it. So it is from the ground up, brand new. In fact, aside from the name, the only thing that remains the same is the badge, and even then they've moved it up onto the bonnet. Speaking of the bonnet, design-wise, what they've done is they've made it muscular and ribbed, I guess for extra pleasure. And the front itself looks very much like the MG4, so you could be mistaken for getting them confused from that point of view. The lights are LED. There's a big open grille here that is very black and, very imposing. And also a nice splitter down the bottom with vents. Now, not only have they changed the design, they've made it bigger too. So in lengthwise, it's 4.11 meters, in height 1.5, and in width 1.79. So it really has been a little bit more, or they've made it a lot more substantial. But it's still very maneuverable and very manageable for around town. The wheels are now 16 inches with nice 55 diameters. And in terms of design, look at this, they've given it two shoulder lines. So this one goes from the front lights all the way down to the rear handles here. And then this other one flips up round the rear. Now, when it comes to the rear, the sporty little hatch has got a nice extended roof line. It's got a wiper. It's got the MG badging. The tail lights are LED. There's also a lower splitter down the bottom here and some reflector lights. And also, when you open up the boot here, or the hatch, you've got access to 293 litres of very usable boot space. Not bad. And also, not forgetting the hybrid badge. That shows you what's going on under the bonnet, so let's go there. Now, options seems to be one of the key parts of this new MG3. So you have two trim levels. You've got Essence and Excite. You have two powertrains. You've got an ICE engine or a Hybrid Plus. You've got two color options for your interior and also 7 color options for the exterior. So, I don't know, roll the dice, whatever you want to go. We've got the Hybrid Plus, and what that means is they've crammed a lot under the bonnet here. You have a 1.5 litre engine, you've got a generator, you've got a electrical motor, you've also got a 1.83 kilowatt hour battery. So, and that's all mated to a 3-speed transmission. So really have jammed a lot under here. In terms of power, you've got 155 kilowatts of power. And when it comes to emissions, it's around, well, it's obviously 0 at some points, but overall combined it's around about 100 grams. And fuel efficiency is pretty good too, 4.3 litres per 100 kilometers. That's not bad. And because the battery is quite sizable in hybrid terms, what you can do is get up to a 30 kilometers per hour speed, and then the engine will cut in and go from EV to power. Anyway, there you go. Told you there's a lot going on under here, but there's more going on inside, and Harry's there to show you all about there.
And the MG3 that we have today is the Essence trim level, and there are quite a few differences in the interior side of things as well. First, we have these seats that bring a new, different kind of material for them. We also have this sunroof in here, and there is a little bit more of the technology that we will also cover in a bit. But in terms of the materials that are used in here, it's a little bit of what you would expect from a car in this price point. So there is a lot of scratchy plastic and a few bits, but there's also a little bit of effort that they put in the sort of more squishy parts in some points of the dashboard, and also the care with the shiny sort of surfaces throughout the car, and also the leather wrapped steering wheel. With some comments that we will also talk about in a bit. Storage is actually very well catered for, with a little bit of storage here up front, the cup holders here and there, and also a swiveling armrest that you can use for your bits and bobs. In terms of adjustability, you will find a big range of motion for both seats in here, but of course, if you put them too far backwards, they will compromise the space at the back because it is a compact car after all. But for me specifically, one of the things that I struggled with a bit is the lack of a telescopic adjustment for the steering wheel. Of course, your mileage may vary depending on your size and shape, but the mix between this and also this thing that MG usually does on their cars with the sort of the corner of the seat always getting in at my back meant that I never got an actual comfortable driving position. So go into one, go in and try and adjust it for yourself and see how you feel. And the experience in here is dominated by the two screens that you have in front of the driver and on the dashboard. So we'll start with the one that is in front of the driver in here, where they have now migrated to this actual digital display in exchange from the needles that they had beforehand. And on the right hand side of things, the controls that you have in here are mostly related to your driving information and the connection with your phone. But using this button here in the middle, you can then flick between hybrid information, your trip details, and then an actual indicator for how much power you're making. Then there are a few settings here and there, and your tire pressure monitoring system. That's pretty much what you can do in here. And then if you exit these settings, you can then control your media with the knob on the right hand side of things. For the left, you have everything to do with your driving assistant. And even though this one here is mostly relegated to using your adaptive cruise control settings, you will also be able to use this to control the distance that you have for the car in front of you and also the speed. Some of the things that are also interesting to note in here is that they have moved to this new design for the steering wheel that is leather wrapped in this trim level, and it's only a two-spoke design with a very flat bottom that turns out to be quite an interesting design. You get favorite buttons on either side that you can use each one of them for one specific setting. And the way that I have put them in here is one of them for the regeneration, which we will talk about in the drive, and this here to be the one for the 360 camera, which is only available in this trim level as well. So if I press it, you will then be able to see here that it does actually quite a good job at stitching the information that comes from all the different mirrors in the front and rear cameras. And then you get the ability to change between narrow and wide points of view. You can actually then also shift for a 360-degree view, which is really helpful to just use for when you're parking the car around, because of course it is really, really helpful in those situations. If you then exit and go to the home screen in here, you will see that you get a dedicated menu for climate, for your media, and for navigation. And then if you go to the right, you then have access to all the other apps. There is a lot of customization that you can do if you go to the vehicle settings or the actual settings of the car, including things that will have to do with your driving assistances or things about locking and unlocking the car, or the lighting for when you're approaching or leaving the car. So a lot of the things to make the car a little bit more like your own and play around with the settings that they make available for you. The tech has been greatly improved from the previous generations. I really liked what they have done in here. Not only is it really, really snappy and easy to use, the quality of the screens is also very good, but it seems to me like there are a few sort of gripes or things that were overlooked when in introducing this new tech. And I have an example in here. I really like to use the phone projection when I'm interacting with a car. So if I go to CarPlay in this specific scenario in here, I don't have any specific way, for example, to go from here to my climate control settings. If I press the climate control button, nothing happens. I actually have to go all the way back to the home screen, back to the actual screen of the system that the car is running, and then going back to climate. So when you have that in association with the lack of voice control for you to maybe do that while you're driving, the fact that they are making this experience so much harder is a little bit of a letdown. But then if you're just using the actual phone projection to only use Bluetooth or maybe the car inbuilt navigation, you will always have very quick access to those settings that have to do with the climate and also your media by using the buttons that are available down below. MG has always been about driving, so maybe it is a decision that they made thinking that you were supposed to be actually focusing more on the drive rather than on the tech. So I think that we might as well oblige and take the MG out for a drive. So setting off on the new MG3 Hybrid Plus. And how much of a hybrid does it feel like, right? Driving around town in here, it's amazing how it mixes this driving that feels a little bit more like an EV in slower speeds like this, but then it offers the practicality of having the combustion engine to go alongside it.
Yeah, in fairness, it acts like a generator when it needs to, but on the whole, it does feel like an EV driving experience. It's quite a clever system, and you know, not alone now in the marketplace, but quite a smart solution to, you know, gets rid of any of that range anxiety and things like that, but while still giving you an EV and obviously a lower CO2 footprint as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So not only do you reap the more efficient figures when you're driving around, but also when you are in a situation where it can actually behave like an EV, it does that very well. And I think it's because MG has learned from all the other full EVs that it has been making. So this is not a slow or a sort of weak electric motor. It has enough power to keep it going to speeds that you will see when in city driving. And it also manages to sort of do a little bit of torque fill for when the engine needs to spool up and pick up and go. So it makes for a very interesting driving around town. You can see that as soon as you give it a little bit of gas, it sort of fills the void until the engine can pick up.
Yeah, I think the 0 to 100 is around 8 seconds, but it feels faster than that.
Definitely
I
does.
find or found. Totally agree with you about the trim. It's a really well laid out. There are some, I guess, some hard plastics which would appall Matthew, but there you go. But the layout itself feels very strong. I like the sort of tartan, being Scottish, having that little bit of tartan insert there. But on the whole, it feels quite an expansive cabin for such a tiny little vehicle.
Yeah, it shows how much these cars have evolved over the past few years. You would never say that it would have this combination of this modern powertrain and also so much tech, while also trying to bring very soft and comfy for some seats and a leather wrapped steering wheel, all that tech. So yeah, it's massively forward.
Yeah, I like the steering wheel. I thought that was really good. Nice squarish sort of shape. Don't like the fact that you can't move it to yourself. I think that's a bit of a downfall. I think if you're going to change anything on the next or the refresh or whatever, change that. And also the little toggles on here are, I don't know, I guess they're good for the thumbs, but I can't help but think it's like a PlayStation game or something.
It feels very sort of when video games started offering those analog sticks. It's different than, I don't think that there is anyone else in the industry using these.
There's a reason for that, maybe.
Right.
Or maybe not, I don't know. Visibility all round's good. I like the fact of having the extra sunroof here. It does give a darker cabin a little bit more view or more light. And even the space in the back, I think we'll try and squeeze you in the back now to show you that there is room.
Yeah, there definitely is. Of course, I couldn't seat behind myself, but for a regular person's seating position, there is enough room at the back. And you even get a set of vents at the back, which is sort of unusual for a car in this price point and size.
Yeah, price point is another thing. It has grown in price, but I believe it's grown in value as well. There's so much more going on in this with the added tech, with the added ADAS. So there's driver monitoring, there's blind spot, there's lane keep assist, there's a whole raft of that good stuff. Also, it's not too intrusive. I've found that the traffic sign recognition does beep a little bit, and it's quite relatively quiet, just more subtle than yelling at you're going over speed, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about it is that which is also a different implementation from other cars, is that it lets you customize a lot of these things. So you can have the lane keep assist and the self-driving as intrusive as you want, and even turn it completely off, even including the speed recommendation or warnings. So if you find the beeping way too intrusive or annoying, you can defeat it, which is just quite good.
The regen's pretty good as well. It's not quite one pedal driving, but it is quite abrupt.
Yeah.
Or the 3 levels or something it is.
So the same way that they do on their EVs, you have the ability to customize between 3 different levels. And level 1 is pretty much coasting. It won't do much, but it always turns on in level 2, which gives you a little bit of a mix of a deceleration when you lift off versus the coasting, because of course it's trying to maximize the range you get on the battery. And then level 3, you can actually take bends without ever touching the brake, because it shaves off a lot of speed. So again, it's all about the customization and giving you many different settings. So I appreciate that.
I don't think you ever touch the brakes on bends anyway.
Never live.
Yeah, exactly. It's also very manageable around town. It's very simple. It doesn't have a parking assist from what I can see, but you can have different drive modes, so you can go from sport to eco to normal, and it's small enough to be able to park yourself, and if you can't, then you probably shouldn't be driving, really.
Especially with that 360 camera, which is available in this trim level, and it is really good. I find that the rear camera has it's facing down too much, so it makes it a little bit hard to judge where things are sometimes. But when you mix everything with the other views that you get, then it is really good. The drone view, it's always an interesting party trick, and it helps place such a small car in various places.
Also, when it comes to handling, I found it actually with your cornering side of things, it does grip the road much better than you think it should. It's not as light as the previous models, so it does hug the road that little bit better. And the 55, when it comes to the sort of the tires, does mean that it's quite a soft, compliant ride, really.
Yeah. It is a very comfortable car, but you feel that for MGs in general, the driving side of things is a concern of theirs. I tend to always get that impression, regardless of the car of theirs that I drive. Even the small SUVs or the other EVs that they have on their lineup, they always have that edge on the driving that I really appreciate.
Absolutely.
So there you have it, the all-new MG3 Hybrid Plus.
It really is all new from the ground up. Literally just a badge. Actually, the badge has been moved. The name is the same, but that's really it. It is a much more substantial vehicle than it was before. Yes, the price has increased, but also so is the value. There's tons more going on here in terms of the tech, the drive itself, and I don't know, also the overall package. It's impressive, and yet still quite an affordable round the town vehicle.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that it is endearing, regardless of how you look at it, if it's because of the design or what it offers or the way that it drives. It's a really compelling package because it strikes this amazing balance between being a hybrid for you to use around town, but it actually sort of drives like an EV sometimes. So you get the best of both worlds. And yes, it has a few things here and there, but overall, super, super compelling.
There you have it. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe, and we will see you on the next one.